0, Assessment and Diagnosis. The GTKY, or Getting to Know You, Introductory Session. How your voice works. Vocal registers. Every human is born with vocal registers. We all have a lower register and an upper register. In the lower register, the vocal folds are shorter and thicker. In the upper register, the vocal folds are longer and tauter. The folds vibrate open and closed more rapidly for high notes than they do for low notes. One of the challenges of singing is transitioning from short and thick folds to longer folds while singing. A good singer gives the impression of having only one register rather than two distinct registers. Their vocal quality or timbre is consistent throughout their entire range. That consistency is developed over time with vocal training or technique. In Step 0, Assessment and Diagnosis, we are assessing the relative development and timbre of the lower and upper registers and the singer's ability to transition smoothly between them. We then assign the student to a vocal category that will determine the technique exercises that will be the most effective for them. Our assessment and diagnosis tools are 1. The interview. 2. Two scales, the 5-tone and octave ah scales. 3. A song, the Star-Spangled Banner. Teaching the step. The GTKY, or Getting to Know You session. The interview. In the interview portion of the GTKY, the teacher takes the student's history and determines their goals and preferences. What style of music do they like? Who is their favorite artist? Who would they like to sound like vocally? What singers inspire them? What are their dreams and goals? What are their vocal challenges? What do they feel they might want to improve about their voice? What is their history? Where have they studied before? Do they currently sing in a church or school choir? What medical issues or challenges are they facing? Have they ever had nodules, cysts, or polyps? Do they have acid reflux? Assessment and diagnosis. Step 0 is the assessment and diagnosis step. It's called Step 0 because it is the pre-training step. In this step, the student performs 2 scales in a song that reveal their vocal habits or tendencies. This is the assessment segment. The teacher, based on information gathered during the assessment, determines the student's vocal category. This is the diagnosis segment. The vocal category determines our initial objectives and the training tools we will use to attain those objectives in successive steps. Assessment is listening and observing. The purpose of assessment is to determine incorrect habits that are inhibiting your student's free and natural voice. Diagnosis is assigning a vocal category to the habits and tendencies that present during the assessment. In Step 0, Assessment and Diagnosis, we determine the student's vocal category as compared to the optimal balanced singer. Some singers are too heavy in the lower register, that's unbalanced pulled lower. Some are too light in the lower register, that's unbalanced light lower, and some are generally breathy and weak in both registers, that's the undeveloped singer. We make that determination based on hearing the student sing the basic 5-tone and octave assessment scales and a rangy song, the Star-Spangled Banner. We are assessing what happens in the student's voice in 1. The lower register, 2. The upper register, 3. How the student transitions through the primo passaggio or first bridge, and 4. The connection and balance between the registers. Here's an example of the scales we use. The 5-tone ah assessment scale. The octave ah assessment scale. And our assessment song, the Star-Spangled Banner. The student can also sing a song of their choice if they would like, in addition to the Star-Spangled Banner. Diagnosis, assigning a vocal category. Based on the assessment, the teacher diagnoses the student's vocal category and objectives for improvement. There are 3 basic categories: undeveloped, unbalanced, or balanced. A voice that is breathy and weak in both the lower and upper registers is undeveloped. This singer transitions through the first bridge too low, if they bridge at all, since they don't have much presence in the lower register. This singer often has a high larynx and breathy tone quality. This category singer will need to increase energy, connection to the body, appoggio, and vocal fold adduction. A voice that is weightier in either the lower or upper registers is unbalanced. There are 2 types of unbalanced: A, the pulled lower, or B, the light lower. Unbalanced pulled lower. The lower register is pushed too high with a strained and yelled vocal quality. The upper register is usually much weaker, often falsetto, with a flip between the registers. The singer bridges too high. Men usually push up to G4, A4, sometimes B flat or even C, with a high larynx. Females and children push the chest voice up to D5, the theater belt. This type needs to decrease air pressure, relax abdominal muscles, and sing with less volume in order to decrease strain in the area close to the first bridge. They will need better vocal fold deduction in the upper register because they usually flip after they push their chest voice too high. Unbalanced light lower. The lower register in this singer is breathy and weak. The upper register is usually somewhat stronger, though classical sounding. The singer often bridges too low. The singer is typically a choral soprano who sings exclusively in the head voice and avoids the lower register. The female or child singer bridges too low or not at all due to the lack of lower register presence or TA muscle engagement. A voice with the lower and upper registers equal in strength, flexibility, timbre, and tone quality is balanced. In a balanced voice, the transition through the first bridge is smooth and there is no breathiness or strain. At the GTKY, we have the Explain, Convince, and Assure segment. Explain. The teacher explains to the student the purpose of the diagnostic exercises they just performed, what vocal quality the teacher perceived, such as breathy, strained, flipped, etc., what vocal category the student falls into, and our SLAS objectives for their training. Convince. The teacher demonstrates for the student, gives them a short technique exercise, or plays some examples of successful SLAS students to convince the student of the value of this training. And Assure. The teacher explains that we have a specific approach for each student based on their current challenges, and that with patience and practice they can have the voice they want. And the student is given a written assessment sheet that explains what their vocal category is and the objectives and goals we have in place for them. To review this information, complete the Test Your Knowledge portion of Step 0 after reading the chapter. You can sing like a star.